So today we are talking with Sandeep Balakrishna, and his book is Jahangir's Messenger. Jahangir's Messenger. I was reading through it. It's hard to put down books. It grabs your attention. Uh, and this is something worth pointing out. There are so many writers coming up in the Indic ecosystem, which is very wonderful to see. But it's really good to see a good writer in the Indic ecosystem. And I think Sandeep is definitely one of those. So welcome, Sandeep. Thank you, Sankrant. Thanks for a generous introduction. Absolutely, absolutely. So as I was going through this book, I found like the very first chapter grabs you, and there is this messenger that comes, and the जिसके हालत हो गई है, जिसका messenger आ रहा है, he's petrified. So how much of this is out of all of the book, which is historical fiction, how much of it is historical, how much of it is fiction? Uh, there's no hard and fast mixture that I can put my finger on. But the story that this novel, it's historical fiction, like you said, Jahangir's Messenger, it is based on several events occurring in the same time period. So, some bit of imagination, if you want to quantify it, about 25 to 30% is what I'd say is purely imaginative. Rest is all based on real historical incidents that occurred. Okay. Okay. So the whole context of it, this this person going into this territory that was unconquered and all of that, that is based on a historical. That is, now that you mention it, yes. As far as this novel is concerned, yes, the whole planned invasion that is supposed to occur, right? That kingdom is imaginary. Okay, okay, okay. But there are enough and more, in fact, hundreds of such places, unknown places, okay, which had not been captured by the Mughals, sultans or the kings, Muslim invaders who preceded them, yes, or succeeded them. Right. So these events, the specific event described in this book, has several historical precedents. Okay, okay. Actually, that's a very good segue because a lot of times we have this impression that, we see the chart of India and we see the Mughal Empire spread, yes, and we think that the Mughal had conquered all of India. Is that reality, or is that also fiction that the history is telling us? That is fiction. Okay. When you talk about Mughals and all that, see, the Mughal itself has become an idiom. Right. Right. Yes. Why did it become idiom? Why did it become an idiom? Right. One thing is because the Mughal sultans projected their power so well. Yes. That you could simply not ignore. Right. Two, self postings and praise was all the court historians, chroniclers, all that. Plus, their alleged glorious exploits were also, they also became part of several works of literature, like poetry, dozens, things like that. But why, why the term Mughal? What does it indicate? It indicates power. It evokes in you a feeling of uh, absolute power, splendor, magnificence, scale. Yes. So it has become a synonym for all this in the word Mughal things. But why it acquired such global currency? Because of the European traders who began to arrive and spread their tentacles out here in India. So when the East India Company, British East India Company, when it slowly began to extend its base and its operations in India, they had to deal, the company's officers had to deal with Mughal sultans. Okay, Jahangir to be specific. And then onwards till Aurangzeb, until finally the East India Company itself destroyed the Mughal, blew them out of existence. 1857, that's well known. So, which is when, during that period, Europeans and including British East India Company, which is when they began to document their experiences in Indic, writing about its climate, its abundance of forests and rest of the things. So there, because their experiences were largely with Jahangir, I mean Mughal sultans who came after Jahangir. So they saw what all Mughal sector, the good and the bad and the ugly, and the brutal and the beastly and the barbaric. They, they interpreted it according to either their biases or their own lived experiences out here. So, and those books were transmitted and sold throughout Europe, and they reached academia and spread in the Western Hemisphere, including America. So, one impression that Europeans wrote in about the Mughals was splendor, magnificence, all this power, wealth, and large armies and things like that. So, in their imagination, it conveyed all that. The word Mughal conveyed all that. This imperial monarch, rest of them are slaves, and is doing his arrogant rule, despotism. So, which is why it became part of the Western media. Absolutely. So, in the context, but to finish that the unanswered part of the question, at no point in the history of the Mughal Empire did any sultan occupy or control the whole of India. Afghanistan was often under their control. Only parts of it would come into their control, then the revolts would erupt, and then they had to be conquered. So the game of, seesaw. So it kept happening throughout. So this whole myth that Mughals control the whole of India is just that of the. But even within the territory that is shown on the maps, for instance, one of the points I guess your book is also showing is that there were many enclaves that were actually not in their control. And that could be said all throughout India. There were probably pockets, a lot of pockets like that. Absolutely. In fact, that is the genesis of this book. Yes, that is this book. Exactly. So I was reading some travelogue written by I think by a Dutch trader who came on a big lesson. And that fellow mentions he traveled extensively throughout the Mughal Empire. For example, he lived in Surat for about, overall, he lived in India for 6 years. He stayed for the longest time in Surat, about 3 years. And then he came to Agra. He visited Burhanpur. He visited Khandesh. He visited Malwa. He visited parts of Rajasthan. And before departing for Netherlands, he stayed in Agra. Lived there for, I think, about 2 years. And we became intimately familiar with the conditions of the city, of the society, of the people, their festival, the customs, their dressing, the whole gamut of his experiences. There he mentions one point, and he witnessed Jahangir's rule with his own eyes. There he mentions the exact extent of the Mughal Empire under the control of Jahangir. And he makes the point that Jahangir used to boast that Pura Hindustan mera mukhi mein. The whole of Hindustan is in my fist. And he estimates, this traveler estimates that the actual extent of territory claimed to be controlled by Jahangir is less than 50% of what he thinks, what you can see as, right? And is that because of areas like this? There's a lot of areas which are out of his control. Yeah. And in fact, I think I want your perspective on that, which is that, when we read about when the British came and there are all the documents of education system and water management and all of that. So it seems like the Mughal Raj did not penetrate as deep and destroy as many things as the later British did in many ways. Huh? I wouldn't exactly characterize it in that fashion. Okay. The British actually didn't do much physical harm. Okay. Because they were not impelled by religion. Like, they didn't come as test. They didn't come as conqueror. Right. But if destruction of property and, natural wealth happened, it happened during the course of war with the East India Company's forces and other Hindu Rajas, but then extortion also, right? Extortion, yeah. The British breeding of India, right, was largely economic, right, and any opposition to that economic extortion was met with ruthless force. Unlike the Mughals, Mughal rule, or Sultanate period rule, they came in, yes, as conquerors, but with a specific, backed by a specific religious ideology, fanaticism. So, loot, fanaticism, plunder, mass conversions, genocide. These were the common features of Islamic invasions and Islamic rule. Not so much British.
Right, right. But here I'm talking about the you have the beautiful tale where there is sort of a subordinate of the empire who has to now go conquer Hindu territory, and of course he meets a lot of resistance. She's not very successful, but I'm saying that there's probably a lot of pockets like that where the original systems of governance and systems were in place. They were even during the Mughal time, right? But by the time
How can you sustain an empire?
yes, yes, exactly. But I'm saying by the time we go to independent India 1947, we find that a lot of those had decayed. And
Yeah, decade beyond repair.
yes, yes, beyond repairs. So is it because, I mean, it's obviously not because the Mughals were more benevolent, or is it because their power was less penetrative in some senses than the later British Empire was?
More or less is okay. More okay. Okay.
So, so tell me what was your main motivation for writing this? Because as I said, it starts off by you've written many historical accounts and you've taken this as a historical fiction and woven a beautiful tale. And I love the language and also the way that you you show the atmosphere, the environment, and you draw the reader in. I think that. But what is it? As somebody who's a Hindu warrior also. What is your motivation in writing? What are the aspects you wanted to really bring out there?
I did set out to write this book, conscious we thoughtful. Like I said, I was reading that guy's journal. Na?
Yes, yes.
So that one line stayed in my mind.
Right.
For some time, I thought,
That it was only at 50%.
yeah, it really had potential to turn into a short story.
Right.
So, but as the writing progressed, it took it so it took different directions which I couldn't predict. And that was finally became a full length matter.
Right.
The book we are talking about is it has, uh, if I may say that, it has a literary quality to it.
Yes. Absolutely.
There are several layers which I guess the readers might discover, but uh, you know, in its present form and shape, like I said, I didn't consciously set out to make it a work of literature or historical fiction. Just went with the flow. So it's like a journey you don't on a unknown terrain.
Yes.
So some curves, some new vistas, some new paths.
Yes.
Whichever I thought uh, was interesting, I followed them.
Yes.
And yeah,
It's a very colorfully written book. Book we are discussing is called Jahangir's Messenger by Sandeep Balakrishna. As I said, it's very colorfully written. It's got a lot of nuance, but also very colorful language, very evocative, a lot of imagery in how, what is the relationship between the subordinates of the empire and the empire, and then what is their relationship to the common people. A lot of material is uncovered. And as I said, I really enjoyed the writing style and the way it was written.